Hi, I'm Cecilia Chen, and in this video, you're going to learn all about the nervous system and endocrine system. Starting off, let's take a look at our nervous system. Why is it so important, and how does it help our body to maintain homeostasis? Well, our nervous system is responsible entirely for our senses. Let's say, for example, you're Bryce, and you magically teleport into the world of battle cats. Suddenly, you feel on your leg that you're being bitten, and that's when you kick the enemy off and you're able to win the battle. That's probably not how Battle Cats works, but still, without your nervous system, you would never have been able to tell that you were being attacked in the first place. The nervous system controls many functions of body parts that are needed for homeostasis, such as your abilities to see, smell, taste, and feel what you're touching. The nervous system is divided into two main parts, the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system, or CNS, is what you would call the control center of your body. The CNS includes the brain and spinal cord. It relays messages, processes information, and then analyzes that information. If you look at the CNS with just the eyeballs, the brain, and the spinal cord, it can be pretty creepy, but still, it's extremely important in our day-to-day lives. It controls our thoughts, movements, breathing, heart rate, body temperature, and so much more. Now let's take a look at some more specific parts of the CNS. The cerebrum is the largest part of the brain and is responsible for conscious activities of your body. It is a site for intelligence, learning, and judgment, and is split into a right and left hemisphere. Each of the halves deal mainly with the opposite side of the body, which is pretty confusing. Next is the brainstem. The brainstem connects the brain and the spinal cord, and it also has two regions, the pons and the medulla. The brainstem regulates the flow of information between the brain and the rest of the body. Next, we have the cerebellum. The cerebellum works with your brainstem for motor responses and is located below the occipital lobes. They coordinate any muscle action in the body and process information about your body position. For example, when you're playing a sport and the ball goes the opposite way, this is what makes you move towards the ball instead of continuing the wrong direction. The final part of the central nervous system is the spinal cord. The spinal cord connects the brain with the rest of the nervous system and runs from the medulla oblongata to the vertebral column. It has an outer sheath of white matter mainly made of axons and neurons, and the inner core, made of gray matter, is mainly cell bodies and neurons. Moving on to the peripheral nervous system. This system can be divided into the sensory division and the motor division. The sensory nervous system regulates activities that are under conscious controls, like the movement of skeletal muscles. Some of the nerves in this system are involved with reflexes. The motor division, on the other hand, transmits impulses from the central nervous system to the muscles or glands. Now you may be wondering, Cecilia, how is a nerve impulse even transmitted? Well, to know how, you first need to know what the structure of a neuron is, or, in other words, what a neuron looks like and what different parts there are. Firstly, a neuron has a cell body. The cell body is the largest part of a typical neuron and has a nucleus and cytoplasm. Most of the metabolic activity takes place in the cell body. Then there are the dendrites. Those are short branch extensions spreading out from the cell body. The dendrites are able to receive action potential from other neurons. Then we have the axon. The axon is a long fiber that carries impulses away from the cell body, and the axon ends in axon terminals. The axon is also covered by a lipid layer. This lipid layer is called the myelin sheath. The myelin sheath insulates the axons and speeds up transmission of action potential. So now we can correctly answer how a nerve impulse is actually transmitted. The impulse moves across a synapse, the place where the axon of one neuron meets the dendrite of another, using chemicals called neurotransmitters. Once these neurotransmitters do their job, they actually diffuse at the gaps between axons and receptors. Finally, neurons can be classified into three categories: sensory neurons, motor neurons, and interneurons. Sensory neurons carry impulses from sense organs to the central nervous system, or the brain and spinal cord. On the other hand, motor neurons carry impulses from the brain and spinal cord to the muscles and glands. Lastly, interneurons connect sensory and motor neurons and carry impulses between them. The second system in this video is the endocrine system. The function of the endocrine system is to use the hormones secreted by glands into the bloodstream to deliver messages throughout the body. The endocrine system helps to regulate the body in order to maintain homeostasis. The endocrine system maintains homeostasis by detecting any issues and then releasing hormones in response to that stimulus, which then becomes the feedback mechanisms, positive feedback and negative feedback. The main function of these hormones is to send important messages throughout the body's bloodstream and tissues to other body parts. The endocrine system is controlled by feedback mechanisms that help to maintain homeostasis. An example of these feedback inhibitions would be like how, when the temperature in a room gets too cold, the thermostat turns the furnace on. On the other hand, when it's too hot in the room, the thermostat shuts the furnace off. The endocrine system consists of many different glands that are all located in different locations and have different functions. The first glands are the pituitary glands. The pituitary glands are located in the base of the skull and are shaped like beans. These glands regulate growth and secrete a total of 9 hormones that regulate the actions of other glands. Next is the hypothalamus gland. The hypothalamus gland is located in the brain and is above and attached behind the pituitary gland. The hypothalamus controls the secretions of the pituitary gland. Interactions between the nervous system and endocrine system take place in the hypothalamus gland. The third gland is the thyroid gland. It is at the base of the neck and it plays a major role in regulating the body's metabolism. The fourth gland is the parathyroid gland. There are 4 parathyroid glands that are found on the back and the sides of the thyroid glands. These 4 glands work with the thyroid gland to help maintain homeostasis of calcium levels in the blood. Next is the adrenal glands. These glands are 2 pyramid-shaped structures on top of the kidneys. The adrenal glands help the body to prepare for and deal with stress. The 6th gland is called the pancreas. The pancreas is found next to the stomach, helps with food digestion, and produces insulin and glucagon to keep glucose levels stable in blood. Finally is the reproductive glands, which are different based on the person's sex. These glands are found in the lower abdomen. The 2 types of reproductive glands produce different things but also share attributes. While the ovaries produce eggs, the testes produce sperm. On the other hand, both secrete sex hormones. Thanks to the nervous and endocrine systems, we can feel and react to things, live normally, and more importantly, we can play battle cats.